All right, we're back. I have graphed the y is equal to cos of x, so the only thing I did differently was I put y is equal to cos x, left all the same windows, and we look and we see a very similar graph. The only difference is cos is shifted. You can consider the shift either left or right. It's the exact same graph as sine, but as you can see with the sine graph, we have a point 0, 0, where cos, it starts at 0, 1. So I filled out the table of values and I plotted the ordered pairs because we're going to be looking really carefully for those points. So those are the ones you absolutely have to have drawn on your graph. We're looking for those. All right, and we're going to take a look at the the properties of y is equal to cos x over the domain of all real numbers. So again, my domain is the same as sine because it goes on forever both ways. And my max and my min are also -1 and 1. So my range is the same as that of sine. My x-intercepts are different though. They still happen pi units apart, but they're shifted over because the whole graph is shifted. So I'm going to pick my first x-intercept, which is pi over 2, and I'm going to multiply that by n, and then I'm going to indicate n has to be an integer. Again, we're dealing with the x-intercepts over the domain of all real numbers. My y-intercept is different than that of sine because it's shifted. It's 1, but the period is the same. If we take a look at this graph, we can see that it repeats after that. So the period is 2 pi, and the amplitude, because the max and min are the same, so it's also 1. And again, that's from the midline, which in this case is the x-axis, to the max is 1 unit, and to the min is 1 unit. And that's how amplitude is defined. All right. So what's happened with this graph is it has been transformed, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I know you're excited to get back into transformations. All right, let's take a look at the period. I like to take the period and look at it. You can either measure it from max to max or min to min. So in this case, I'm going to measure it from min to min. If I line that up with the x-axis, the period here is pi. So let's take a look at that. Everything after that would be a repeat. So the period is a pi. And you can measure it from anywhere. That's fine. One thing I didn't talk about, and I want to talk about because it's going to be important later, is let's take a look at the scale. I find students sometimes struggle with, what does that go up by? So I'm going to go from 0, and I'm going to make a mark at the first pi. And I want you to see how many pieces of the pie there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of the first pi. So the scale of this graph is pi over 4. Not really important in this question, but it's going to be really important later. All right, amplitude, max minus min, divided by 2. So my amplitude is 1 minus -3 divided by 2. So my amplitude is 2. And we're going to get into what midline and what that is a little bit later. But I'm going to draw the midline. Don't worry about how I got it yet. So here's my midline. So as we can see, the amplitude from midline to max is 2 units, and from midline to min is 2 units. All right, I'm going to let you determine the period and the amplitude for B, and you can check it against the class note solution on Google Classroom.